Ba-da-bum-bum-bum.
We're loving it. We're back.
And better than ever.
Welcome to the Sex Ed for You podcast, where research meets reality.
This is the podcast for people who want to date and have great sex that is safe, fun, and enjoyable.
We desire to empower our listeners to make informed decisions that lead to values-based living. Hi, I am Lauren. I am a certified holistic sexuality educator, embodied intimacy coach, and the proud owner of Sex Ed for You.
And I am Holland. I'm our Chief Culture and Content Coordinator. And welcome to part 2 of the cheating episodes. We are so excited for this.
So excited to be back. For this part 2 of the cheating episode, we wanted to get into some nitty-gritty stuff. If you haven't listened to part 1, highly recommend. It came up because Holland's sister shared some Facebook screenshots.
Yep.
And may you too have the joy in your life of sometimes seeing too much personal drama on a social media platform. But I hope you do, and I hope you take the opportunity to have some conversations with the loved ones in your life. So on this part of the episode and the topic, we wanted to discuss some more practical stuff. We wanted to give you some tools, questions to ask people in your life, some fun discussions to have maybe on a girls' night or with your partner, and then to talk about kind of, just some of the things we wanted to get to. What should we start with?
What should we start with? I do want to bring this up, that this kind of instance, this screenshots being sent to me, talking about all, that's not out of the norm for me. So it wouldn't have brought anything up. But what made me want to talk to you about it was that the cookie was there.
Oh,
when I got these screenshots.
Hey.
And his reaction to all of it was so different than mine, because I saw all of it and I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe they put all of this on social media. Holy shit. Like, this is just wild. And like, I almost view it as, like reality TV, because like, I vaguely know these people, but not really. And it's more of just like, to me, I'm like, holy crap, this is all on the internet. And then Cookie was like I could almost like, and I know he has experience with cheating. And so like I had his whole response was just entirely different than mine, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because it brought up, oh, I'm so glad that we've already talked about like what cheating is for you and I, because if not, I feel like this could have like this whole experience, my sister sending me these screenshots and him seeing them on my phone, like this could have been such a more tension-filled experience if he and I had not already discussed what cheating looks like for us, if we had not already had such well-rounded conversations surrounding cheating, his experience, my experience, because it was just crazy, the differences in the way that we reacted to this exact same situation.
Which gets to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, we are human beings who look at a situation through the lens of our own lived experience. Our own traumas, our own witnessing of our own parents do things, witnessing an older sister or something, right? Some things are like reprehensible and some things are an eye roll, depending on the person who looks at it. Yeah, so let's get into conversations you should be having with partners. Right. Okay, so I think what Holland was saying is a great start. I think early on in relationship, it is okay to bring up, what is cheating to you? What is a no-go for you? What makes you uncomfy? Ask for past experiences of it. Because if it's a wound, somebody might be a little bit more on edge than you are. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, but that does mean that they might have a tender spot there. And that's okay to talk about. It's okay to talk about. What I think is not okay is starting to try to control the behaviors of our partner in order to ensure our comfort and safety. Such as obsessive compulsively checking their phone, such as where are you going? What are you doing? These types of desires to control in order to produce a different outcome that keeps us more safe. Do I understand the human desire to stay safe? Hell yes, I do. And yet, it's not your job. So we want to control the behaviors of another person. I like to tell clients all the time, in the nature of what we talked about last time, of people deserve to make decisions for themselves. Either your partner's a good person or they're a motherfucker. And there's not a lot of ground in between, but the choices that they're going to make, you deserve to get to know they're going to make them so then that you can make an informed decision from it. If your partner's a cheater, you deserve to know that. And this obsessive compulsively controlling all of the environments is hurting you, I'd argue, more than it's hurting them.
And it's not going to change whether they cheat on you or not.
It is not. And one of the things you and I want to talk about is that it may turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy.
100%.
Because what you are exhibiting then is you're not a trustworthy person. You're not a trustworthy person. You're not a trustworthy person. Enough times of hearing that, and we're like, fuck it. I guess I'll go be not a trustworthy person. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's really interesting to study styles of attachment. And most of us learned how to be attached to someone inside a parent-child relationship. Mm-hmm. It is very much a parent's responsibility to keep a child safe, to monitor their behaviors, to have consequences and rewards and all this kind of stuff. That's not how we're supposed to bond with another person. We're supposed to bond with another person, being our own individualized self, seeing them and being like, hey, you're cool. And then both of us taking care of our own shit. Mm. And then getting to have erotic friction through individuation and getting to then participate in caregiving, not caretaking. Mm. We give one to the other. That's cool. We invest in one another. That's cool. We say, ouch, you hurt me. I don't like that. Don't do that to me. And then they learn or they don't. And then we make a choice from that. But we don't need to caretake. And that includes this policing. Mm-hmm. It's just really common inside of relationships, the policing of the other.
Well, I think it's such a narrative spin on that controllingness too, because when you were saying the words, where are you going? Who are you going with? What time will you be back? That to me came out in a male voice. Whereas when I hear, let me look at your phone, who do you have on Snapchat? That to me is a female voice, like a female embodiment. Wow. Those feel like very gendered differences of control to me. And I don't know if that's just my personal experience. Would you have anything?
Mine is slightly different. Yeah. I mean, again, these are such fun conversations to have with people. I think the first one was female.
Really? So the who are you, or who are you gonna, who's gonna be there?
It's very motherly.
Okay.
Like make good choices type of, energy type of thing. Like, I don't trust you and your friends. Mm-hmm. And y'all, if that's the case, you really need to assess if you want to be with this person. Yeah.
Or are you that person?
Yes. Person's friends are very, that is a really good thing to look at.
Yeah.
What type of people does this person hang out with?
Right.
This is worth looking at. And if you don't trust their people, save some time. Yeah, I love that you brought that in, because that gets into all my juicy stuff of so much we're in relationship with another person, and especially in hetero relationships, we are looking for that partner to be a version of our perfect parent. Mm. And so it's don't do to me what my parents did. Right. And then it is wild when you look at
God, the psychology.
Right? I mean, it's endlessly fascinating. And so we will be like, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's don't be the version of my dad. Mm-hmm. Right? It's wild.
Yeah. But okay. So what I wanted to kind of dig into with that too is I do hear that almost gendered voice of the picky questions to me come from a male gendered type situation. And I think for that, it's control of action, of it's preemptive control of action. Preemptively, I want to know everything about what you're doing. What are you wearing? Where are you going? The bouncers, what are you going to drink? How much are you going to drink? When are you going to be home? That all feels very preemptive, control to me. That is before the fact. Whereas I hear almost this feminine voice of what have you done? Like that almost female intuition. I've had friends who have said well, I'm not someone who checks phones, but I just knew. And I just needed to look, and he had. he had cheated. And it's almost, I think it's because of my personal experience with friends who have been cheated on or have been the cheater, knowing of like, it was just, I just had this intuition. And so it's so interesting to me that I almost can separate it into this preemptive control and this post, like it's already happened and I already know, just let me look, let me confirm type of control. And I want to dig into that because I'm so curious about kind of that preemptive control we can almost look at and be like, yeah, that's icky, that's wrong, get away. But the post factor, is it ever okay to look at somebody's phone? Is it ever okay to invade someone's privacy like that, whether your intuition is correct or not?
Okay, you've gotten me down. My brain is just like spinning. Because what I'm wondering is the first sounds very patriarchal, doesn't it? Very like controlling of property. The second sounds very feminine, very intuition based. Both could have a shadow and a dark side. So what I was wondering is like, what if we didn't say either was wrong? What if we just empowered women to ask more questions at the beginning? Right? I want to know more about your friends. I would love to know who you spend your time with. Because I deserve to make an informed decision, right? So what if more women stepped more into the informed decision, chosen partnership? I'm not worthy to be chosen. I am a damn good partner, right? So more of this question asking up front. And then what if more men, and this is very gendered speak, but felt into something's off, right? Hey, babe, can we sit down? Like something's off. And I'm wondering if, there's a relational gap. I'm wondering if a need of yours isn't getting met, and if perhaps you're using something else or someone else to get that need met. Because I see the shadow side in both of those ways that you talked about, but I could see the other side too, right? I could see the having real discussions, the tough ones first, and saying, this is what, in our relationship, this is a standard. That would be good. And feeling off. Our vibrations are off. Is good.
Right.
This intuition, good. But yeah, I think what we do is we manipulate, we control, we go to all of these ways that I was then going to get into epigenetics because, why not? These past behaviors or these ingrained fears or these ingrained ways of functioning inside a relationship come from like centuries. Yeah. And so women who didn't have a voice for the longest time were using their intuition to stay safe.
Yeah.
And right, they would manipulate, they would use sex to get ahead, right? Because these were the only wiles that they had. And men would use dominating control to keep what was theirs and scarcity and all of these things. So some of it you just have to kind of smile and be like, oh, look at that.
We're products of genetics.
Yeah, well, shocker. But like, how do you, I what was your original question?
Is it ever okay to look into someone's phone? Because for me, it is easier. I don't know, easy, but I, maybe because of personal experience, see that kind of domineering, preemptive questioning as just kind of inherently, but it's hard for me, probably because I am a feminine person, to categorize looking into somebody's private information based off of intuition as good or bad or in between.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where we wanted to go into secrecy versus privacy. And these are all the conversations that we encourage you to be having ahead of time. In our field, we do a lot of talk about sexual privacy, the right to sexual privacy. And everybody gets to determine what this looks like for them. And then I encourage them to be, if they're in partnership of any kind, for it to be discussed within the partnership. So personal examples are always best because everybody's is going to look different. For my partner, Trey and I, sexual privacy looks like the right to a solo masturbatory practice at any point. That is mine. My pleasure belongs to me. Trey's pleasure belongs to him. That is absolutely fine. Our fantasy lives, we can absolutely do anything in our minds. And sometimes we will share fantasies with the other. Sometimes we will not, because my erotic imagination looks very different than Trey's. Trey loves Consent is like all of his fantasies. It's so cute. Mine is not always. Mine can be very disturbing. Is not the right word. It is very much where I play out the switch of power from control in my past. And that is not always Trey's cup of tea. It doesn't turn him on. So if I were to share some of my fantasies with him, it's like a buzzkill. Doesn't have the desired effect. Yeah, that is all for me. There are even certain old partners of both Trey's and both mine that we still chat with sometimes. And we know that. And we know that they celebrate the love that Trey and I have for one another. And they are approved people, and we will check in with each other. We know that we talk to the other sometimes. I think that's as far as our sexual privacy goes. Masturbatory practice, yeah, for us. But so... Yeah, I am not a big proponent of cell phone checking. Especially without someone's consent, it goes against human rights. It goes against all of these things. And if you are having that intuition, gut feeling, my friend, God, either you just need to trust it, or you need to start to do some work on your attachment style. And so an anxious attachment, right, is going to kind of be worst case scenarioing at all times, is going to be, if they're apart from me, they're they do not like to be apart. So if Holland and I had a string between us here in this room, if I was to back up, an anxious attachment style is like, and starts to pull back. Yeah. And there are so many reasons for that. You are loved, you are seen, that it has so much validity to it. But what we can do is kind of create these narratives, tell a story in our own mind of what's going on. And so it's not always based in actual reality. Mm-hmm. So checking someone's phone, Okay. This is, if you want to be a phone checker, have your plan, which then this gets to some of the other stuff that we were talking about. If you would like to be a phone checker, I would love for you to have already in your body, what is the natural consequence going to be if you find out the information that you feel you're going to find out? How will you follow through on this plan? How will you take care of yourself? Because you deserve secure attachments. You deserve healthy connections. And what friend are you going to go stay with? How is it your home? How will you remove this person from your home? How will you break up? How will you process this? How will you follow the whole thing through? Because what we can tend to do, especially as people in female bodies and have relationships, is then just go to a victim narrative. Mm-hmm. Like, so say you do find something, then you go to a how could you? Everybody does this to me. And then we become smaller. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, that's not getting us anywhere. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think following it through in your mind before you even take a step towards that phone is very important. And again, with what Lauren said of having a plan, I would say, what are you going to check for? Yeah. Do you know what you're looking for? Is there a person that you think it might be? Is there a text message thread you want to find? Are there photos you're looking for? Snapchat history? What are you looking for? Don't just go into it and literally invade every corner of their privacy, reading all their notes and looking through their, I feel because then you're getting into this is just creepy and gross and icky. Whereas if you're confirming something, I don't know, because I never really feel right about phone checking, to be honest. But if it's something, because I can also see it being in an unhealthy, unstable relationship where you almost need proof to get out.
Which is why I was saying, if there's a whole plan, right? If you, in your intuition, a wise one, let me go this way, are yeah, something is not right. I, for instance, have, I think I'm developing an STI. And what is this from, right? And then all of a sudden you're starting to think through all of these things. And yeah, I don't know. It start with a conversation. If
maybe
you're able. Oh, okay.
Because
well, if we're going into a safety thing, this needs all these different clarifications, right? Right. Safety is so important, which one of the things we wanted to talk about on this part of the episode was having people outside of your person. We have a codependent culture to a fault, and we tend to get into relationship and then lose all other relationships outside of this person. That is unsafe. I did it for a decade, and I couldn't even fathom how I would leave this relationship because A, no one would think that I had any credibility, and B, I had nowhere to go, which seems so silly in a community that was my own. But I literally didn't know what I would do. I didn't know who would house me because I was like this wayward woman. This is dangerous. Like, no one should be in this place. You should always, always have people who would just trust you. If you were like, hey, something is not right. Can I come crash with you? And to be nurturing those relationships at all times is safe. I was thinking just the other day about Trey and my like horrible vacation last year. And how some of these moments, and I might have even said this on our podcast, were so interesting when I look back at them because it was, oh no, I guess our relationship's over. And that was tragic, but it's also so funny to look back on because it wasn't this like, oh, well, what will I ever do? It was like, well, that's sad. Like, didn't think that was going to happen, but I can stand on my own 2 feet. And my God, we all need to be able to do that. And I don't think that's an unhealthy place. I think this, my heart understands the people who, like me, stayed inside of a relationship because it was safer than leaving. And yeah, God, there's so much work to do in that place. But just making a habit of secret phone checking of your partner's information, I don't like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think of it as a good habit to have for sure. But I also know like there is such a thing as intuition that is just correct.
Agreed.
And I think if you are in a space where that it's just, you're like, this is something I would never do, but it's something I need to do, then girl, do it. Or boy, do it. Like, or non-binary person, do it. Like, just if it's something that you feel in your gut, not as a result of anxious attachment, not as a result of fear, but as a result of this plus this plus this equals I need proof. And because then I think we're also getting to the point, I think you need to be able to recognize that if you are breaching that point of trust of reading someone's phone, you must understand that you have broken trust within that relationship. And is that trust worth breaking for this proof? Is this trust already broken? Because I think that's would be my final straw. If I don't trust them to tell me the truth, if I have to look at their phone to truly find out the truth, then the trust has already been broken.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of where it comes down to me is like, if you don't trust this person enough to ask them and for them to tell you the honest to goodness truth, then maybe it is time to look and have the proof you need to leave the relationship. But I don't think it's a great thing. Wouldn't condone it for a Friday evening activity.
Yeah, if you find this a normal pattern, I go to sexedforyou.com/free consult because there's something else at play here. This could be lived experiences that are seriously sabotaging your current relationships. This could be the current relationship that is full of deceit. This could be that you are in a healthy relationship for the first time and your nervous system can't sit with that. There are so many things. It could be that human needs aren't getting met that used to be met in a different way. But yeah, invading someone else's privacy. I love what you said, right? If this is truly something you need to do, then take into account, the possible ramifications.
Follow it through. All the way through.
All the way through. Yes.
What is the conversation going to look like? What are you looking for? Who are you going to stay with? Like what you said, like just, you can't just kind of live in that heat of the moment, that discomfort that you feel, that follow it all the way through.
Yeah. Clients of mine and I talk about this all the time because I was raised in a world where quote unquote, divorce was not an option. Okay. And so we would never even threaten divorce, but that came at a real cost because divorce should have been an option.
Right.
Now, I don't believe on the same page that divorce should be threatened all the time, right? To tell someone, if you do that, I'll leave you, like all the time, is to upset the nervous system. And yet to have really clear consequences of what deceitful behavior, and I think we should call it that, not cheating, what the natural consequences of deceitful behavior would look like inside a partnership, I think is completely beautiful to have these types of conversations. To know what is cheating in a partner's eyes is really important, because what is cheating to one is not cheating to all. No. Yeah, phone checking.
Talk about nuance.
Yeah, I saw some graphic years ago that somebody posted who was 100% cheated on. Their partner had many affairs and they didn't know about it. They are in prison now. It was bad. And out of that, I think they became hypersensitive, as would be expected, of deceit inside a relationship. And so they found some graphic that some person had created about micro-cheating and shared it. And I hated the whole thing so much. I hated it so much. It was, if your husband, it was all so heteronormative.
Okay.
But if your husband has relationships at the office, if your husband comments on somebody's clothing and says they look beautiful, if your husband, it was all of these different ways wherein they are taking something in the terms of this micro-cheating post that should be for you and giving it to someone else. To me, this is just a recipe for disaster. Your eyes are huge. So why in your mind is it a recipe for disaster? Because I was just horrified.
Well, I've just never been a big proponent for shut your eyes to the world except me. I think that goes back to the codependency.
Yes.
Humans are still always going to be attractive. What, you expect him to just never use his eyeballs? That just is impractical to me. It's just genuinely I can't logic that. I can't fathom not saying, oh, your shirt is beautiful. I can't. I'm a very complimentary person. So I just can't imagine not saying, oh, I love that tattoo. It's two very different things to me. I'm also someone who finds flirting harmless, though. So that's, my value.
This should go in the cheating conversation that
right.
you have with your partners, because I also think that flirting is a gift we can give to other people. Yes. It does not infer that we want to sleep with them right then and there, or that they are going to get to sleep with us.
I think it can be taken too far.
100%.
But I also think that just flirting because you're, I don't know, in a coffee shop and it's fun and it's cute, and then you leave and you go back to your partner and you're like, oh my God, this handsome person told me I look so pretty today, and I told them they look hot.
It's delightful.
Yeah.
It is a challenge if you have not experienced that, but it's so good for all humans anyway.
And then on top of that, it's just micro cheating. It goes back to the preemptive control. That's your attempt at controlling somebody else's actions, which is not for us to do. It shows an inherent lack of trust of your partner. It shows an inherent insecurity that is going to hinder your relationship in a myriad of ways. I just can't fathom that being a healthy foundation for a relationship in any way.
So maybe check in and see if your partner knows what micro cheating is, or if they have heard of this term. Because I think we've mentioned this before, that has so many notes of internalized misogyny in it too. This idea that in order to be safe in the world, women have to out-attract other women, and that women are the enemy, that women are the dangerous ones, that women are the manipulators and the temptresses and the seductresses, and they are not to be trusted. And to that, I say, women, we got to work on this because we are beautiful and incredible and deserving of attention and affection, and deserving to be in spaces with people who are attracted to us and who we are attracted to. We deserve to feel desirable and to desire and to want, and to be able to practice self-control and to trust that other human beings in our spaces can also practice self-control. this idea that women are inherently the problem is like, oh, so gross in my body. And I talk with a bunch of clients about, their fear of porn in this way, that if their male-bodied partner is watching women in porn, well, then he's going to hate me. And I will turn to their partner in my office or on a Zoom call and say, do you hate her because of other women? And he's like, no, she's amazing. And I'm like, do you find other women beautiful and your wife beautiful? And they always say, yes. And I say, does it get in the way of you finding your partner beautiful? No. Like, none has been like, yeah, well, I really wish she could be this entertainment. No. We have done this. We have believed this through false teaching, through false, lack of information and lack of science-based education. And it is sad to me. And I truly believe it contributes to this whole conversation, this idea that, she was a homewrecker.
Mm-hmm. Which I do think that maybe there are people 100%. With that initiative. But that still, to me, goes back to the person in the relationship.
I agree.
We didn't write this down, but the idea of a work wife.
Yeah.
And a work husband.
Yeah.
I think that can be hilariously playful and fun. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's, for me, appropriate within a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Why? Go into it for you.
For me, because I've had a work husband before. Mm-hmm. When I worked at a coffee shop, there was this guy. We would just jokingly call each other husband and wife. I wasn't in a relationship at the time. Mm-hmm. It was very flirty and it was fun and it was cute if I had been in a relationship, I think it would have been something that I would have felt needed to be secretive.
Ooh, see, this is interesting.
It would have been the secret. It's not something that I would be comfortable doing now in relationship. I would be like, oh, that's, ugh. It's just mm-hmm. It's kind of that
for those who are just listening, Holland is literally, it's like she is holding something in her belly, in her middle, and she keeps going, sinking back and away from it. Mm-hmm. When we do somatic work with our clients, that's what we would look for. Mm. That Holland's feeling is not right in her gut, right? Gut intuition says so much. When we can start to understand the wisdom that's in gut, then we know what is right for us and not okay for us. Mm-hmm. And then it gets beautiful. Then it's not what's right for everyone or what's bad for everyone. It's what's not okay for Holland. Holland knows that was something that, just wouldn't be okay inside of her body, inside of what she would want partnership to feel like for her. Yeah. Which is just cool and interesting.
And it gives you your own boundaries to play within. Mm-hmm. I think it's dangerous when we don't have boundaries to just let everything kind of float up in this air of we don't know what's right, what's wrong, what's left, what's up. That's what we really, really desire to do here, is help you make informed decisions that lead to values-based living. We want values-based living.
Your values.
Yeah. Not the general pop, this is not gen pop stuff. This is your values, because it's your relationship, it's your sex, it's your life. So I felt comfortable playing within a work husband type scenario when I wasn't in a relationship. It was funny. We weren't ever going to actually date. I think we kissed once, it was a funny work thing. But for me, if I had been in a relationship or if he had been in a relationship, I would have not gone down that path and called someone work husband, because I think it's almost just it crosses a line for me of labeling it like that.
And I love it. See, do you hear what Holland said, which was it crosses a line for her. Mm. And that there's so much beauty in that. This is us sitting with the paradox, right? Of, it was okay here. It wouldn't be okay there. It's so yummy when we can do that type of thing and call it what it is and be like, oh, this was okay in this, and it definitely played with some of these elements, and it was this, that, and it was flirty. And yeah, and this would be the line I'd need to draw inside of me. It was the same thing on part 1 when I was talking about that ex that I was with for 6 weeks. Right. That's something in me. And yeah, I can feel it in there. If I was going to him for what he would provide for me inside of relationship, it would be a form of cheating.
Why would you count that as a form of cheating for you?
Because there is something erotically titillating that my psyche knows that I would be seeking. And I even struggle to put like the what is it? Oh God, what could it be? Maybe it's, when I was hearing you, it might be a little bit of that like role play too, right? It might be a little bit of this escapism, this isn't a version of reality that if I was in some type of relationship with him, it would have to exist in like a side piece of reality. And I think maybe this is what you were inferring in a work husband, work wife type of scenario too, right? That it's another type of role play that we're doing. And it's almost a disassociation from real life.
Yes.
And I am here for that in fantasy and in consensual play between partners. I am here for that in you go to a sex club. I am here for that in you go to a play party. I am here for that in different types of sexual adventures or fantasy or views porn or books. Or there are so many juicy ways to do that consensually. This would be non-consensual. And it would be still playing with that realm.
Gotcha.
In my body.
It's reaching into fantasy in a way that is unconsensual.
Yep. And it also, I wouldn't be partnered to that person. There were also things that were not good. Really bad. You did not trust me. And it was really yucky. And so if I also was playing with that, I would know that I was disregarding pieces of information that I do have. And yeah, this wouldn't be, hey, Trey, can we talk about consensually opening up and inviting this old lover into our, right? Like I wouldn't do that with this. No,
that's not a path.
That's not where I want to go. It would want to be like my secret thing on the side.
The appeal of it is the secrecy.
Yep.
Which again is something you can play with in fantasy, but it's just not for us in our values to be part of a relationship. Not a healthy one, at least.
Deceit's not a part of our values. Shocker.
Shocker.
It's sex ed for you. We're not proponents of deceit.
No.
Not at all.
No.
And let's acknowledge that anxiety is one of the greatest aphrodisiacs. Okay. So there is a reason in the psyche that is like bing. The fact that, eroticism is filled with these violating taboos of the search for power, of longing and anticipation, of overcoming ambivalence. Those are all in the like sneaky realm so often, right? All in this kind of shadow side realm. And it's just so beautiful to be able to sit with them. It really is. Trey shared something early this morning that was like, why is it stuck in my head? And shared some fantasy that totally was about deceit. And he was like, why is this turning me on so much? And we just laughed about it, right? Because I was like, it is so fine in fantasy. Horribly detrimental. And he was like, oh, I know. But it was so cute to be able to speak of it and name it and laugh about it and play with it as like a naughty whisper between our ears and then go on with real life.
Yeah.
And we always say fantasy, poof. Like, yeah, here we are in consensual communication and ethical behavior. It's lovely how that follows through. I'm trying to see if we had anything else written down. Can we talk a little bit about, let's end on this because I think we have a good amount of time. Yeah, some good questions to have with a partner if you guys have never brought up cheating before. If it's never even been a subject of conversation, you're in partnership, dating, casual dating, married, engaged. These are all good times.
Any time is a good time.
If you haven't talked about it,
now's the time.
Now it is. Send them this podcast. Be like, listen, Lauren and Holland had never talked about it, and they did.
Yeah. God, there's so much. I think, honestly, I think it might be a yes, no, maybe sheet that I kind of make. Because I don't think we even know how to talk about cheating because we get so uncomfortable. Because I can imagine myself sitting in conversation with a partner and being like, well, I don't want to bring this up because they're going to think that maybe I've done that. Or I don't want to like give this example of cheating because it feels dirty. I think we've put so much dirtiness around all of it. And so I think it could maybe be like a...
Yeah, and you know what? Masters and Johnson, when they first started doing their research, found that the best way to go into questions like this was, how old were you when you fill in the blank? Assuming that all people had been involved, or how many times have you?
Yeah.
Instead of have you ever?
Yeah.
Because human beings don't want to share these things, right?
I haven't done that.
So how many times have you? How old were you when? Are such better ways to look at this. Other clients and I were talking about this week that one of the partners had never told the truth about looking at porn. And that they had been playing some fun game about like early on in partnership, but it was like a have you ever? And they thought that they would lose their partner if they talked about it.
Yeah.
And this became a beautiful conversation. But instead of, how old were you when you first looked at porn? Or when you first found porn, which is just an open-ended conversation and allows room to discuss these types of things.
Instead of like a finger wagging.
Instead of a have you ever.
Yeah, because it's asking you to condemn yourself rather than saying like this is an open-ended, everybody's done it type sitch. It's, I'm going to ask you this question now, condemn yourself one way or another.
Yes.
It feels very like almost like a police, like a drawing question, you know? And that's not what we want out of this conversation. What we want out of this handout that I'm going to make for you is a conversation, a back and forth, and a mutual understanding in a safe space, hopefully, and your relationship is a safe space, that you can discuss things like this. And I think you would need to start in experience. Have you ever been cheated on?
Yeah. What did that feel like in your
yes.
body?
What did it feel like? And how did it occur? I think is important. Like not just, yes, I've been cheated on, but like how, what happened? I think not only is it important to know in the context of this conversation that we're having today, but in the conversation and the greater context of a relationship, to know your partner's dating history, I have always found deeply important. And I know that can be controversial. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about their exes with their current partner, but I genuinely find that it is important.
It's very important.
It really is.
Like, I'm sorry. Again, I know my experience is different than the lived experience because the amount of people I sit with and hear, but when these things are withheld and then we hear later how almost your current partner is paying the price of somebody else's actions towards you.
Right.
Oh, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Yes.
We all do it. We all do it. But yeah, somebody else should get to know.
Yes.
Like, honey, I know that's a sensitive area for you. I want to remind you that I am not so-and-so, right? That, yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And then that's our own work to do.
Right.
Right? When I project onto Trey things from the past, that's not Trey's job. That's my job. And it's okay for him to call me out on that. Right. I am not your ex. I am not your dad. Yeah. The conversations, past relationships, what is sexual privacy? Define that. What would you like to remain sexually private? In what instances would it be okay if we asked for a phone check? Maybe something like that, right? What would be the natural consequence of cheating? And what would we do? What's our safety plan? I think that would be a beautiful conversation. Who do we go to? How will you get the support that you deserve?
Right.
And these are really juicy, special conversations to have ahead of time when we're all in love towards each other.
And I think you could ask questions like, how can we plan to alert each other when a human need is not met? Because that's, again, I think one of the roots of this deceit, this cheating, is that something is not being met, or they're a motherfucker. Either way. But
yeah.
Like, we need to have the tools to speak to our partner about what we feel discomfort with in a relationship of. Yes, it's uncomfortable to say you're not meeting this need, but if we are able to say you are not meeting this need for me, then we are able to have deeper, more important conversations and perhaps actually salvage a relationship that is worth salvaging before we wreck it unintentionally out of a desperate human need.
Mic drop. Yes. I think what I'd love to provide for you are those 6 human needs that my professor was just talking about. And then on the sheet too could be, how are you getting each of these met? Because it's like things like significance, love, connection, certainty, uncertainty. When one person is being asked to meet all those needs singularly, there is so much pressure on that one person. And that can become suffocating, right? And then if they're not meeting your need, that is when we see cheating sometimes.
Right.
Right. And so what are our other ways to get our needs met? That's a perfectly normal conversation to have with a partner. Or do we need more friends in your life? I talk to Trey all the time about how I manifest friends for him on vacation. I manifested, he had a few hard days of like women asking great questions, but men not asking him any questions because men just don't have a little coaching in that area. And so we just kept meeting people and couples and stuff where the men just, they were duds. And anyway, so I just started praying and manifesting that he would meet somebody, and he met 2 guys all of a sudden who started asking him questions. That wasn't mine to do.
That's not your role to fulfill.
I'm not a dude.
No.
I'm not a dude. I just like to ask him questions, and I wanted to be sensitive about that. And we had a little moment where, he was like frustrated about a question moment, and then we kind of felt into it more. And I was like, oh, it's not me who's not meeting your need. It's just like in general. Okay. And when we're here, we have such a core like community of friends who ask some really good questions. And what a great problem that when you go on vacation, you miss your community who asks really good nuanced questions. But he was missing all his buddies. And so bada bing, bada boom, we found some. But it's not my job. But yeah, like those are core needs.
Yes.
We get to have them.
And they're good things to discuss, because if you are pulling from, these 6 core human needs from different friend groups, that also preemptively helps you prepare for if you're moving, when you have kids, when you shift life stages, when all your friends start getting engaged or all your friends start having babies. Like, this is something to reassess. Okay, well, this person now has a child. They can't fulfill that need for me. It was my friend that I had coffee with every week, and they were, the person that I talked to about psychology. Well, now I feel this gap in my life where I don't have that person that I speak to about psychology and philosophy. That's a human need for me, for you. Those are things that is something that I crave. And if I am missing that piece in my life, I don't doubt that the first step would be to turn to partner. Okay, well, I want this out of you now because I've lost that person. So then it's like we need to be able to have that conversation. And I think between the partners to realize, okay, you've lost that, and you should mourn that.
Yes.
And that is valid, but I can't provide that for you. Let's find someone else. Let's, maybe get you into a psychology class. Let's maybe, I don't know, go to a ceramics class and hopefully meet some friends there, a new friend who you can talk about, I don't know, Socrates with. Like there's so many different ways you can get into different things like this, but having these conversations is so deeply important so that you can recognize it before you try to siphon all of your needs from one person.
Or go to cheating to get that need met. Right? Which is such a beautiful, like full circle that we've come to, is that I think somewhere in our subconscious, we know that our partner cannot be our everything.
Right. Yeah.
And yet as a culture, we continue to perpetuate this model of codependency upon the other. And then we're shamed for using the only way that we know to have those other needs met, because it's not celebrated that we should continue to individuate inside of partnership. And so that's why I think this conversations that you could start from this worksheet that Holland's making could literally transform your relationship, because it is showing, oh my goodness, we still need to continue to nurture ourselves inside of any relationship so that we don't go to some shadow way to get those needs met. It is completely understandable to want to be desirable by more than your partner, right? Research continually shows that when a partner says, wow, you look beautiful, that women will think in their head, yeah, you have to say that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, you're saying that because, you're my husband. You have to.
You're saying that because you're my boyfriend and you have to.
Yeah.
right? Or I'll hear the opposite, which is, I never tell them because like they know, or they know I have to say it. Lordy, y'all, this is all because of this weird codependent, like forced codependency we put on like these primary relationships.
Because then it glorifies the attention that you receive outside of that relationship because it feels more validating. And that's just not true. It's just not.
It's not. On vacation, Trey and I would sit at this certain place at a bar where we could see everybody coming in for dinner. And we would literally post up with coconut martinis. And every couple or person who like you could tell like just loved their little outfit that night and like really just put it together, we would stop them. We'd be like, excuse me, you look incredible tonight. Oh. We did it for 10 days straight. It was so fun because to be witnessed, to be seen is so important. And then we would see it feed, like those people would start beaming. And so then they'd look outside of themselves and told somebody else. It was kind of like this beautiful little avalanche.
This is community healing.
Yeah. It's like, it's okay. It is so good to notice others. Trey was right there by my side. But yeah, like it was so lovely. He would tell women, right? Like it was just, it became so fun. It became our evening ritual. And we need like that. We have needs. It is good to want. It is good to need. It is totally okay to say, wow, I have needs that are not going to be met inside this partnership. And where is that okay? And where do we need to work harder in this relationship? Yeah. It's really can become a fun conversation. And, you know, something earlier I was thinking about when you were like, your sister was sending you screenshots and blah, blah, blah. People could have a tendency to be like, that's gossip. And I have done a lot of deep work, and this actually comes from some Hemlock peeps. Shout out. Program has been sunset, but the joy will always keep going. I think it was B inside of that talked about how gossip actually used to be the way, what it really originates from is women sharing information in order to keep others safe. And isn't it so cool that this was you and your sister sharing information that then turned into a whole podcast on this subject that hopefully is keeping others safer? And when we can start to look at information sharing like this as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity to witness, not like, well, I'd never, which is what we tend to go to because narrative. And we're like, how do I stay safe and never end up as sad and pathetic as those people? Instead, we use it as a launching point for learning, growth, education. It can truly be healing. And I think talk about another internalized misogynistic term is gossip in the way that we use it in this 2024. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see your worksheet.
Thanks, me too. Who knows what it'll look like?
Who knows? It'll be a good one. Yeah, it feels like a good wrapping up point.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah.
I think we're good.
Thanks for coming to this part 2 of the cheating subject. If you want to talk more about this would be a really good time to go to sexedforyou.com/free consult. If this is a topic, if even this topic has made you so uncomfortable that you're like cringing and you're like, yeah, I have human needs. And what do you mean they could be met outside of my partnership in a consensual way? I mean, friendships and sure, maybe consensual non-monogamy. Go to sexedforyou.com/free consult. Fill in that little form. Holland will look it over. And if we sound like a great fit, she'll place you into a free consult with me and we can talk about the things that you'd like to overcome or learn more about. And if we're a good match, we can move on in the process. If not, I can refer you out to some colleagues. You are not alone. And all of this that Holland and I discuss is relatively new information for us too. Don't you worry. I truly believe that the World Health Organization is correct when they say that sexual health is fundamental to the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. Because I think when we have conversations like these, it truly transforms. It helps everybody heal and helps our communities thrive. So yes, I want everyone to have hot and erotic sex. But more than that, I want our relationships to be free of coercion and violence and discrimination and full of juicy consensual conversations. Where can they find us?
They can find us on Instagram at sex_ed_for_you. You can always email me at admin@sexedforyou.com with questions, comments, or concerns. we've already said sexedforyou.com/free consult about 1 billion times.
We do have a bunch of free resources. If you're
True.
like, oh, I just want to know more, you can go to our website. You can find all of those. Yeah.
sexedforyou.com/free resources, I'm pretty sure.
And if it's not, go to sexedforyou.com/shop.
Yep.
Just go to the website.
I'll
Click
link
around.
it. I'll link it down here. You'll find it.
There's lots. We have so many worksheets. Also, go binge the podcast. Oh, share, like, subscribe, all that juicy stuff.
Yeah.
It's really good for us. Thanks for coming. Go have good conversations with your partner.
Yeah.
All about cheating. Bye.
Bye.